Hi loves, and welcome back to another video, or welcome if you're new. My name is Morgan, and today I'm going to be sharing with you my tips for taking care of my designer bags. I will admit I'm one to baby them because if I save up and spend a lot of money on them, I don't want to ruin them. And I know a lot of people are very concerned about how to care for them and tips and tricks for making them last longer. And that's what this video is about. I hope you find these tips helpful and you find maybe a pointer or two that you haven't heard before. So let's get into it. Tip number one is don't wear dark clothes with light colored bags. When I say light colored bags, I mean something like this, or a beige or a white. You need to be very, very careful with light colored bags because color from your clothes can transfer onto the bags. So you want to make sure that a color like this is worn with white, or a fabric like this where you're not in danger of color transfer. You want to avoid fabrics like denim or something that's in a black color or a navy color, or anything very, very dark when you're wearing something like this, because there always is a risk. Now, I have heard tricks of spraying your bags with certain things to avoid color transfer, or spraying your clothes with things to avoid color transfer. I personally have not tried it, and I'm very skeptical because one wrong move and you get a color transfer on here and then it gets stuck on and you can't get it off. I just won't take the risk personally. So my recommendation is to be very conscious about the colors that you're wearing with light colored bags. I would just stick to light colors. If most of your wardrobe is filled with dark colors, I would personally opt for a darker bag. Tip number two is I don't set my designer bags on the ground. If I go out to a restaurant, I put it in an extra chair, or I hang it on my chair, or in the few circumstances where there isn't place to set my bag on the table or the chair, I will literally put it in my lap and put my napkin over it. The ground is super dirty and there might be something sticky or gross that you don't even notice. And if you set your bag on it, then the bottom is ruined. And if you're flying or traveling by train or something with your designer bag, a tip for that is you can bring the dust bag inside the bag, and then when you need to put it under the seat in front of you, I put my handbag in the dust bag, close it and tie it on the top, and then put it under the seat. So my bag is protected, there's nothing gross getting on it. I highly recommend not putting your designer bags on the ground. So my next tip is to keep one of these like little refreshing wipes. Like a lot of restaurants give them to you to clean your hands. If they're extra on the table, I pick these up and I keep them in my bags, because if there's an accidental spill, like if you drop your drink on your bag or something like that, this is a really quick way that if you wipe it up quickly, you might be able to avoid a stain permanently setting in. Now, I'm not saying you should clean your bags with this wipe. This is for an emergency situation, and I will say this has gotten me out of trouble multiple times. Recently, I was on a trip and I dropped ice cream on my bag and I just quickly wiped it up. But what I do is that I take a regular napkin or paper towel that's just damp and I wipe over where I've wiped with this. So I make sure if there's some kind of something in the wipe, it's not left on my bag and it doesn't discolor it. So this is an emergency situation type of thing that really has saved my designer bags in multiple situations. Another thing that kind of goes with the wipes is you can clean some of your leather bags with these sneaker wipes. I mentioned this on my video about what to get your man for the holidays. Typically, I would clean like leather sneakers with these, but some more durable designer bags, you can use this to get some tough stains off, and I've had some good results. Always make sure to do a patch test maybe on the bottom and make sure this is not too abrasive for the bag that you have. It has worked on some of my bags before to get some tougher spots out. I will say it has gotten the color transfer off of the back of this. Now, I did work quickly because I noticed the color transfer and I used these quite quickly after. So if your color transfer has set in, it really just depends on the situation whether these will work or not, but it has worked for me when I've noticed it and I've quickly used this to get the color transfer off the back. 4 is to keep anything liquid in your bag inside of another bag. I'm trying to get away from Ziploc bags, and I'll be honest, I was using like a stasher bag. Like when I travel, I would put my travel toiletries in there, but it did rip. It's great for the kitchen, not great for your beauty products. If you can find like a little cosmetic case that's like waterproof, that nothing will like leak out of it. Keeping your liquids in a little pouch inside of your bag is a really good tip for keeping spills out of the lining of your bag. And a lot of people don't care about the lining of their bag because it's inside, but if you ever do want to resell it, having your bag as pristine as possible from inside and outside really helps the resale value. So Just going that extra step to put your liquids into a sealable bag before they go into your handbag will really help keep the inside of your bag very pristine. My next tip is to use twillies to protect the handles of your bag. Now, I don't do this for every handbag. Louis Vuitton leather is known to get a patina over time, and that patina will come faster the more you touch it and the more oils get into the leather. Using a twillie to protect this leather will keep it looking newer longer. I'm not going to completely save it from ever getting a patina, but it will like reduce how dark it gets how quickly. Especially keep this on my Louis Vuitton bags with the leather handles. This really looks great on any bag with the top handle. I've used it on my Chanel's before. This is a great way to protect the handle of your bag from the natural oils of your hands. Number 6 is to stuff your bags when they're not in use to hold their shape. Now, a slap to your bag like this Valentino is going to have shapewear. Some of your more structured bags, you might think they're going to keep their shape forever, but that's not necessarily true. If they're not supported from the bottom over many years, they are going to sag or get some like wear on the corners. So it's great to stuff your bag when it's not in use. You don't need to get a bag pillow. You don't need to get these bag shapers and stuff. What I typically do is either I take like tissue paper I've gotten from like a present, or when I'm shopping or something like that, I recycle it and use it to stuff my bags, or I use the dust bags from my shoes and my bags to stuff them and keep their shape. So like this one, I just have a bunch of dust bags in here, and I just kind of put them in here and make the shape as best that I can, and then close the bag. It has all of the corners and the bottom shaped out. You can get bag inserts that you use like while you're using the bag to help keep the shape. I personally haven't gotten them just because every company I've looked into takes many weeks to deliver these inserts, and I'm never in the same place for long enough. But when I do try those, because I am looking at getting some for a few of my bags, I will report back to you and let you know how they go. Tip number 7 is to keep dust off of your bags. Now, leather needs to breathe a little bit, so you don't constantly want to have them in a dust bag. But I also just cringe when I see like open shelves like these and people display their bags out in the open, because unless you're dusting weekly, that over time can cause damage to your bags. I personally keep my bags in a glass cabinet so they're protected from dust, but I can still see them, and they're in my room furthest away from the window so they're not exposed to too much light as well, because exposing them to constant light can also cause discoloration. So tip number 8 is to do with patent leather. Patent leather can show a lot of fingerprints. I like to make sure that I wipe down my patent leather bags with a damp, wet cloth. Try to make sure it's like a white, soft cloth so it's not going to damage my bags or put any color transfer onto them. Then I make sure to follow it with a dry cloth so I can wipe off the water. And that usually does the trick to clean patent leather, unless you've just done something like crazy to it and the stain has gotten underneath the patent. Then there's nothing you can really do. Tip number 9 is also for patent leather, and you want to make sure you condition your patent leather. There are patent leather conditioners you can buy, and you want to do it every so often. It depends on the climate you live in. When I was in New York, I never had to condition my patent leather and it held up just fine. But since I moved to Dubai, all of my patent leather bags have been pretty much acting up, getting them almost out of my collection because the climate is just too harsh for them here. But if you do have patent leather bags, you want to make sure that you condition them every so often, just so the leather stays healthy and it keeps it shine. For tweed and fabric bags like this, you want to be super careful about the jewelry that you wear. Maybe you've already thought about, okay, I need to wear light colors with it, protect it from other colors getting on it. But I think a lot of times people don't think about like their bracelets or their watches or their rings that they're wearing, because when you're getting in and out of this bag, your wrist and your hand are very close to the bag. And you need to be very conscious about what jewelry you're wearing. You also need to be conscious about wearing like any type of clothes with embellishments. I also have to be super careful about my engagement ring catching on this, because any kind of ring with like prongs on it catch this tweed super easily, and nails. If you're wearing long nails like me, you have to be very conscious when you open and close the bag. My next tip is one that if you display your bags, maybe you think about, but if you just put them on a shelf, maybe you don't. You should always remove the straps from your bag and put them inside the bag to store. Because, okay, maybe you're putting them in a dust bag, but if you put this with the strap on in a dust bag and the bag sits on the strap funny, you could get a kink in the strap, or you could get a mark on the bag. Not really the canvas, but if the leather version of this, if something, if it sits on your shelf for a long time and say the strap is like under it in some funny way, you could get like an indent in the leather. So it's always best to take the strap, and what I do is I start from the end that doesn't have the buckle, and I like gently roll it like this, and then I open the bag and I just kind of place it inside, and then I stuff the tissue paper around to hold the shape of the bag, and then close it and put it away like that. Just a tip that I use to make sure my straps don't get a kink in them or my bags don't get a funny mark on them. Tip number 12 is something that I do to baby my bags, and not everyone wants to do this, and that's okay, but I pay very close attention to how I'm wearing it and where I'm going, making sure I'm aware of my surroundings so I don't bump into things and like snag the bag on something. I'm very careful about where I set the bag. I just am very aware, because if you have a delicate bag like this with like lambskin, you don't want to be like walking down the street and like run into someone or something and get a scratch on it. Like, you just have to be very conscious about your surroundings. So that's something I make an effort to do when I'm wearing my designer bags. And yes, that's babying them, but that's what I choose to do. If you're not going to be conscious about what you're doing when you're wearing your bag, then I would suggest going for more durable fabric that will stand the test of time without you having to baby it. Tip number 13 builds on tip number 12. Think about how you want to take care of your bag before you purchase. So if you know you're a rough use person, go for a canvas. It's virtually indestructible. I mean, yes, it can get ruined. I mean, don't go swinging it and hitting things with it. But like, if you accidentally bump into something, 9 times out of 10, this is probably going to be fine. Whereas if you do that with a delicate lambskin and a light color, you could ruin it in like your first use if you're not careful about what you're doing. So I like to consider how I'm going to use the bag before I purchase it. This is a small evening bag, so it's easier to take care of, versus this is an everyday bag where I want more durability and I take this traveling. So I need different things from these bags. And being conscious about what you need out of a bag when you purchase can really help you take care of your bags in the long run. Number 14 is check the weather before you leave the house. Some designer bags can handle the rain and some cannot. It depends on the durability of the leather, so it's really important to check the weather before you leave the house, especially if you're going to be out all day. If you do live in a rainy climate, there are some things you can do. You can keep like either a dust bag or like one of those foldable tote bags in your bag, so that if you do get caught in the rain, you can take that out and put your bag in it, and then like put it up under your shoulder so your bag is kind of like protected close to your body. Or if it's during the colder months, just take off your coat, put your bag on, and then put your coat on over your bag. It's gonna look funny, but at least you're not ruining your designer bag. Tip number 15 that I like to do is I'm super careful with my beauty products. So I like to make sure that if I'm spraying perfume, my bag is away from me. I let it dry first before I pick it up, especially if I'm carrying it on my arm, and because I spray my perfume here and then like dab it behind my ears. So I let this dry first before I pick up my bag, so that I'm not getting perfume on the hardware or the leather. If you get perfume on the hardware, it can make it tarnish over time, so I'm super careful about that. And the other thing is like hand sanitizer, especially when I travel to like certain cities. I'm using hand sanitizer all the time, or hand creams. And the thing about it is I keep them in my bag, so if I take them out to use them, I make sure that my hands are dry before I open my bag again to put them back inside. And that might be a little annoying, like you want to just use it and put it back in, I get it, but over time, you don't want the oils from those products ruining your leather or your hardware. And the thing with my makeup is I touch up throughout the day, whether it's my lipstick or sometimes I need a little powder. And I like to make sure that when I remove my makeup from my bag, I kind of move my bag away because I'm super clumsy. I'm known to drop a lipstick every now and then, and I want to make sure that I don't drop it on my bag. I'm super guilty of, once I put my lipstick on, you know, just adjusting the edge a little if I don't get it perfect. And I always make sure that I have a wet wipe out with my lipstick or, you know, a tissue or something to wipe the makeup off my hands before I open my bag again to put my makeup back inside. Tip number 16 and my last tip is to use a little pouch to keep all of your bits and bobs. It just keeps the inside of your purse a little less messy. I use the mini pochette, but you don't really have to use a designer one. You could use, you know, a free makeup bag you get when you buy some makeup products or whatever it is. Just something small to keep all of your little things organized and out of the bottom of your bag. I keep little things like mints, hair ties, band-aids, like whatever little tiny things that would be floating around the bottom of my bag. I keep inside of this, so one, it's easy to take from bag to bag, but also it helps me protect the lining of my bag from little things getting in there. Not only is this really convenient because I switch my bags a lot, it also just keeps the inside of my bags clean and tidy. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you found a tip or two that can help you keep your bag looking nicer longer. Leave me a comment below with any questions you have about taking care of your bags. I'll be happy to chat with you there. I'm in no way an expert, but I'll be happy to answer them to the best of my ability. Follow me on Instagram for more style and travel posts. I would love to have you over there, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!